Well, I think what people don't know, frankly, is that in normal conditions, that is peacetime, daylight, smooth seas, and everything, it's not as difficult as maybe people think, because what happens is they pick a day when there's a good wind, and then the captain of the ship goes at a pretty high speed, like 30 to 40 knots, into, say, a 15-knot wind. So now the relative wind across the flight deck can be up to like 50 miles an hour. So you subtract that speed from the airspeed of the airplane. So if the airspeed of the airplane is like 140 miles an hour, and if you were landing at an airfield with no wind, you really would be approaching the runway at 140 miles an hour. But since you've got that wind across the deck, the relative speed to the ship is like, take 140 minus 50 is like 90 miles an hour. And the first couple of times, it seems like everything's in slow motion. In fact, my first couple of tries, I had to wave off because I underestimated how long it would take me to get around, and I forgot that the ship was moving. So by the time I got into the landing position, I was way behind the ship, and I had to teach myself to turn in. Not on a normal runway, you turn when you're past the runway. And when you're coming aboard the ship, you've got to start the turn before you're past the ship. And then by the time you've come around, the ship is in the right position. And there's been a lot of advances. Back when I started, they still had a landing signal officer, a guy with paddles, and this meant you were too high, this meant you were low, this meant you were about right, and then he'd give you your wing position. And then if you looked good as you were coming up the groove, he'd give you a cut signal, and you'd whack the power and bring it in. And that was replaced by a British-invented mirror landing system, where you would see this reflection of three lights in the mirror. Low meant that you were getting too low. And if you saw the so-called meatball, which was a great big, it looked like looking into a small sun, you knew you were right on the glide slope. And of course, if the meatball was off to one side, that meant you were off to one side, and so forth. It was, the technology has improved a lot from the early days.